Hello, oi pessoal, é o Tamer El-Guindy aqui e a gente vai ter hoje uma entrevista fenomenal com um dos melhores, maiores treinadores de todos os tempos, vencendo o Olímpia 19 vezes, Hany Rambod. Você não pode perder essa entrevista. Se seus amigos não sabem dessa entrevista, fale para eles assistirem, que a gente vai falar de coisas extremamente importantes do Mr. Olímpia, possivelmente Phil Heath competindo, das 19 vezes que Hany ganhou o Mr. Olímpia. So I hope all of you guys, espero que todos vocês vejam essa entrevista incrível, imperdível com Hany Rambod. Tô só esperando agora para o Hany juntar aqui da participação. E de novo, a gente vai estar falando de coisas realmente com muita controvérsia. Se você tem perguntas para o Hany, perguntem agora. De novo, lembrando, o Hany ganhou o título do Mr. Olímpia 19 vezes, com o Jay Cutler, com o Phil Heath, Nicole Wilkins. Então, realmente um dos maiores treinadores de todos os tempos. Fale para todos os seus amigos que a gente realmente vai falar coisas muito, muito importantes aqui. Fernando Sardinha, o grande mestre. Eu amo esse cara. Fernando Sardinha tem o maior coração do mundo. Para mim, esse cara, não existe cara melhor do que ele. Um coração do tamanho do mundo. Muito bom ter ele aqui. Sardinha, a gente vai estar falando com o Hany Rambod, falando sobre as maiores perguntas sobre o Jay Cutler, Phil Heath e algumas coisas controvérsias que estão acontecendo agora. Então, só esperando para o Hany juntar com a gente, para a gente poder perguntar algumas coisas para ele. Bastante gente aqui está começando a join the live. Essa vai ser uma live realmente imperdível. Imperdível. Você não pode perder essa live. Só esperando realmente para o Hany participar aqui. Se vocês têm qualquer pergunta agora, para muitos de vocês que não sabem, eu estou promovendo o Mr. Olímpia. E o Mr. Olímpia agora, em vez de ser em setembro, o Mr. Olímpia vai ser em dezembro na Strip em Las Vegas. Não podem perder isso. Hany Rambod, how are you doing, Hany?
Hey, how are you, Tamer?
Doing good. Can you turn your phone here?
There you go, like just for you.
Oh man, you look good, bro. Every day you look more beautiful, Hany.
How are you?
So, Hany, I want to introduce you. Of course, many of the Brazilian fans already know who you are, but I want to reintroduce you. Some people call you the greatest coach of all times. I believe you are, because I'm a little bit biased. You trained a razor, so you made a razor, but you made much more than a razor. You made a guy that one cut above Jay Cutler, helped him win his title back. Who couldn't remember the gift, helped him with so many times winning the Olympia. Nicole Wilkins, for figure, you have won 19 times the Olympia. No coach in the history of the sport has achieved more than you have. And you know, the attention, the love, the detail they have given to every single one of the athletes, it's absolutely a match. We're honored to have the greatest coach of all time, Hany Rambod, here with us.
Thank you, man. That's amazing. I've been very blessed to have a lot of really good clients and students. And so I'm very, very blessed to be able to be in this, to look back and say, hey, you know, how successful I've been with clients such as yourself, where we've been able to have a lot of really good moments, and we laugh already, you know, even though it's been almost 10 years since we turned you pro together. It's been awesome.
Well, let me translate that really quick, Hany. So, na minha opinião, o maior treinador de todos os tempos, ganhando 19 vezes o Mr. Olímpia, Hany Rambod, realmente uma legenda. Nenhum treinador fez mais do que ele fez. Treinou o Jay Cutler, treinou o Phil Heath, Nicole Wilkins, e lógico, foi meu treinador também. Hany, I'm gonna start this right away, because of course we have a relationship, and just very recently something happened, you know, that kind of shocked me, to be very honest with you. My brother brought to my attention an interview that, you know, somebody did with Eduardo Correa. And on that interview, he was saying that, you know, he wouldn't share a protein shake with you. And the reason why that you guys that he tried to train with you and you didn't treat him well, you're like, you know, kind of like dismiss him. You're just because of the fact that he was Brazilian, what's absurd. So I'm going to go right there and say, look,
Because he was Brazilian.
I was Brazilian from the first day. When you start training me, I wasn't even a pro. I was like 10th place on the USA's.
Yeah.
And you helped me for like getting from 10th place to 4th place to 3rd place and finally winning the you know, the Mr. USA twice as a Brazilian. You're the most loving, detailed guy in the whole world. So, you know, I can tell right there, I don't know what Eduardo Correa said, but what he said is absolutely not a representation of the greatest coach that has ever lived. And I stayed by that statement, every single word.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your kind words. Obviously, he's still upset at the fact that I didn't end up working with him, but it was, you know, it's just I didn't think it was a really good fit, and that's why we didn't do it. But yeah, I didn't know that he was still upset about it 10 years later. But you know, when somebody says that I don't like Brazilians, obviously I've worked with you for many years. I have Brazilian athletes like Rafaela in Milagres and, you know, on my team for Evagen. So, you know, I have been to Brazil many, many times, Sao Paulo, Rio, seminars. I think I love the Brazilian people. I just, at the time, didn't feel like it was a good fit. So obviously, 10 years later, I don't even know why he's, you know, he's still upset.
Well, so let me translate that, Hany. So, eu tava agora. Teve algum comentário, né, que o Eduardo Correa fez, que ele falou que ele tentou treinar com o Hany não tratou ele de uma maneira boa, e eu posso falar isso claramente. Eu treinei com o Hany, o Jay Cutler, o Phil Heath. Ele é um treinador que ama todas as pessoas, ele ama o Brasil, tem o maior respeito, e ele só achou que não era uma combinação boa entre ele e o Eduardo, que realmente ele está até surpreso que o Eduardo está falando coisas negativas dele depois de tanto tempo, que realmente isso não tem nada a ver. E que ele tem nada mais respeito pelos brasileiros e paixão pelos brasileiros. Hany, so I just translate that, but let's talk about some other like really important things. Some of like your biggest accomplishments were not only training some great athletes, but really creating some, you know, theories of like how to work out better. So, you know, we know very well that we have the high intensity training or high volume training. You got the high volume training, and you did some kind of like really modern evolution to it through the FST7. What is that new training theory, and how did you come up with it?
Yeah, so what I did was I started working with my clients remotely. And what I needed to do is when they would fly in to come and see me, I wanted to give them in that kind of intensity of a workout, just like if I was there. So what I wanted to do is create a system would be able to, somebody could do that without me having to be with them physically. And that's why I started to create the FST7 training system, because it wasn't just about a diet or just about, you know, a piece of paper, which everybody thinks that's what it's about. It was training is such a huge part that a lot of these coaches don't want to be a part of because it's a lot of work. But if you see me doing training, it's about videos and showing technique and showing that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create an approach where it covers all of the different criteria, especially training, because it's so important. And that's how I came up with FST7 training.
And if people want to know more information about FST7, if they want to learn more about the theory of training, what are the best places to learn about FST7? And you know, I must say something. Of course, I was involved on the beginning. It's specifically help for muscle groups that you're having difficulty like growing. So where can people find information if they want to like use FST7?
You want to translate why I created it first?
Yes. So let me translate a little bit. So eu estou conversando com o Hany sobre a teoria de treino que ele criou, que é uma teoria de treino que chama FST7, que é realmente uma teoria de treino incrível que, lógico, tem duas teorias de treino, a High Intensity Training, a High Volume Training, e a FST7 é focalizada no High Volume Training, mas com muito mais evolução, muito mais específica para ajudar. E onde que você pode achar mais informação sobre o FST7? O Hany vai falar agora. So where can you find more information about FST7, Hany?
The best thing to do is go to the Evogen, my YouTube or the Evogen YouTube. I have a lot of videos with my current athletes like Andre, and we have a lot of videos on there. So the best thing to do is to follow me on Instagram, but really the videos I think are the most important, where you get a lot of the demonstrations. And obviously you and I did a video a long time ago together, which when I first created the system. And that's a really, I mean, still classic video. I go all around the world and people still ask about it. But going to the Evogen YouTube page and following that, as well as my personal YouTube page, and then I'll be adding even more content there.
So, se você quer saber mais informação sobre o FST7, que é uma das melhores teorias de treino, que ajudou os melhores atletas do mundo, vai na página do Evogen ou na página personal do Hany no YouTube. Ele tem treinos incríveis para ajudar vocês com isso. So, Hany, let's kind of like talk about some, you know, of course, because you're involved in so many parts of the sport, you're
Sure.
like a historian and you know a lot about like some of the top athletes in the world. So now last year you worked with Hany Chopin and you really shocked the world. You know, I was producing the Olympia, and I remember a lot of people coming to me and say, hey, do you think Hany could make the top 15? You know, that's kind of what the talk. Can he make the top 15?
Right.
And not only he come in third place, many people thought he could have come in second place, maybe in first place even.
Right.
That's how unbelievable this guy looked like. So how was getting one of the top 212 into the Olympia?
You know, obviously there was so many different issues with him getting his visa. That was such a thing because we didn't know he was even going to be able to compete because it took so long for him to get the visa. And then literally up to 2.5 weeks before he got the green light, and he was here in California a couple of days later. So the hardest thing was that he didn't realize that he was going to be ready, because for 4 years he's been trying to get ready and compete at the Olympia. So that was very, very difficult. That was the first thing. The second thing was that Hany is a person who trains very, very hard, but it's a matter of also training very, very smart. So what we did with Hany in the last 1.5 years, from Portugal to Vancouver to then the Olympia, was really work on maintaining a tighter waist and continuing to build up his weaker body parts, bringing up his chest, his back, because his legs were always been very good. And continuing to give him more of that 3D look. So it was really, when him and I got together in Germany at FIBO, we were able to work together, and he was able to learn a lot of the different FST7 system of the blood volume training to be able to create much, much more depth and separation to the muscle. And that's where I feel like he's really excelled in the last 2 years.
So, eu estava perguntando pro Hany como que ele conseguiu pegar o Hany Chopin, que era um dos melhores do 212, e transformar ele num dos melhores na categoria aberta. E lógico, foi um processo muito árduo que ele fez, mas realmente a parte mais difícil foi pegar o visa para ele poder competir nos Estados Unidos. Mas o Hany está muito confiante, porque o Hany Chopin realmente trabalha de uma maneira muito dura, e ele estava usando os melhores suplementos do mundo, que é os suplementos que o Hany usa, que é o Evogen. Então ele estava muito confortável com isso e com o treinamento. Hany, so now this Olympia, you have Brandon Curry, that you actually worked with him in the past.
Yeah, I turned him pro.
Yeah, you turned him pro. You have you're gonna have a lot of great athletes out there. And Flex Lewis is coming back from the 212 and going to the Olympia. How do you think Flex is gonna place on the Olympia? What is your assessment of how he's gonna do on the open class?
I think with this current lineup, he's going to be very competitive. I think with this current lineup, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where he's going to compare better now than he ever has. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to shine. So, you know, his body tends to excel when it comes to, especially when he's dialed in right, in separation, in the muscle bellies. You know, he's got really good limbs.
Can he win, on your opinion?
You know, can you win? I think, honestly, like, it's one of those things. It's really hard to say who can win or who can't, because if I would have asked you if Brandon Curry could have won 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we would all said the same thing. Yeah, he's got the potential to win, but can he win? But you know,
I think, Hany, I think like that Hany Chopin's placing last year really kind of helped Flex, because, you know, these two guys have similar height. They're very comparable in some ways, and Hany really showed that he's competitive. So I think that helps Flex. So let me translate that. So nós estamos falando agora como que o Flex Lewis poderia ir em classificação no Olímpia. O Rony está falando que ele acha que ele tem condição de ir muito, muito bem, e a classificação do Hany Chopin ano passado pode até ter ajudado a percepção de como que o Flex Lewis vai esse ano. So, well, let's talk about, you know, I mean, this is a very controversial item, but yesterday I had a live with Dan Solomon, and we're talking about some potential people that could do the Olympia. And of course, the name of the great Phil Heath came out. And then we talk about Phil, and he said, Phil. And I talked to him when I was in India. I said that to him. I said, look, Phil, as an athlete, as a fan, as the promoter of the show, of course, I want you to compete. But I think that years will come, and one day you're going to miss. You're going to say, I could have maybe done 9. I could have not done 8. I could do 9. And you're going to say, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I want the greatest bodybuilder that ever lived, you know?
Right. I love how you don't even talk about 8. You just talk about 9 now.
No, I said 9 because I really believe that he has, because of the time frame, he can win 2 more. He has it on him and become the only guy that won the most titles on the history of bodybuilder. He can do something almost impossible. And I said, like, one day you and I are going to be sitting down. You're like 7 years old. I'm 7 years old. And say, fuck, man, I could have done a couple more, you know?
Right.
So, you know, and believe it or not, he sent me a message. He sent a message to Tarek. He sent a message to me. We talked, and he said, look, I don't know if I'm going to come back or not. Now, you're in a really hard position, but I'm going to ask you that. Are we ever going to see Phil Heath back on a stage? What do you think? Because you're his coach.
Yeah, I think, you know, I talk to Phil all the time, right? And I think it's one of those things where Phil is going to be, if he knows that he's going to be 100% in regards to committed and whatnot, he'll let the world know, because he's still training. He's still very, very dangerous. He's someone that everybody, you know, can't sleep on, because as you know, he pretty much exemplifies the 3D physique more than anybody in this era, if probably ever. But it's one of those things that he's got to make that decision if it's something that's going to be fruitful with all the things he has going on. He's got to make that decision.
A pergunta que eu fiz agora pro Rony é: o Rony treinando o Phil, será que a gente vai ver o Phil Heath mais uma vez no Olímpia ou não, ou competindo? E o Rony falou que, olha, que ele acha que ele é um cara muito perigoso, ele ainda está treinando, ele está pronto, e é realmente uma decisão pessoal dele. E eu falei que eu acho que ele tem o potencial não de ganhar 8 vezes, mas de ganhar de 9 vezes. We'll see if we're going to see him again or not. Let's talk, Hany, a little bit about your supplement line. I remember years ago, you started your supplement line because you are like, you want to have the best supplements in the world. And you said, I can do this. You have already a background on biochemistry, and you put that together with your knowledge, and you really create some amazing supplements, you know, some of the most well-known supplements in the industry through Evogen. So how was the starting of the company, and what are some of your favorite supplements on Evogen?
When I started Evogen, it was very stimulant-based industry, and I started with a very expensive non-stim pre-workout, the original EVP, as you remember. You know, you used it, you know.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do was didn't want to just come out with a product that everybody else had. I wanted to get a product that follows my philosophy of blood flow. So everything that I do, from the training to the supplements, to the nutrition, is all about blood flow, because the blood flow is going to dictate muscle growth. So if you want to translate that over.
So, o Hany começou a companhia dele porque ele queria realmente focalizar em fazer os melhores produtos do mundo. Ele tem um background em bioquímica e, lógico, ele é um dos melhores treinadores do mundo. E quando ele começou a fazer mais coisas para o pre-treino, mais estimulantes. Foi assim que ele começou o Evogen.
Yeah, so, you know, I got guys on here right now asking about glycoject, isoject, and all these. Yeah. So what I started was I wanted it all to be about quality, because most of the products, the companies out there, you don't know who made these, who formulated these, what's their background, okay? They don't have a science background. They don't have a trainer background. They don't have a list of athletes that they gave samples to be able to really work and perfect a product, you know? So my situation was very unique, where I had the ability to do all those things.
Well,
so when I was designing
you could actually practice what you're doing on the athletes. Well,
yes.
Many times, that's what you used to do. That's why those products are so amazing.
Yeah, so if you want to explain that, that's what makes it different. Everybody else has a paper formula. I would make version after version and send it to you, Tamer. I would send you version after version after version until sometimes 50 or 100 versions before a version came out. That's what was making the difference, and that's what's made a difference in my brand over everybody else's.
So, o Hany está falando por que ele acredita que a linha de suplemento dele é superior, que ele realmente desenvolveu a linha dele através de um processo que ele usava isso nos atletas, fazia os atletas testarem, não uma vez, muitas vezes, até ver que o produto estava correto. Isso como estimulante dele, como produto de carboidrato, todos eles foram testados nos melhores atletas do mundo. Yeah, so,
Evogen muito bom.
Evogen é muito bom. So, you know, Hany, so let's go back a little bit for training the athletes. So yes. When you're training the athletes, what do you think made you the best coach in the world?
It's because I leave no stone unturned. I don't just work on food or supplements or some other factor. It's always been calculated between training, which is the most important thing, because if you don't train, it doesn't matter how good your diet is. It doesn't know what the best supplement in the world you can take. Number one thing I focused on was training, and then food, and then supplements. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to be able to just fax over a diet or fax over some kind of supplement program. And I made sure to do that. And so that's what the difference was.
So eu perguntei para o Hany o que ele acha que faz ele o melhor treinador do mundo. Ele falou o que ele acha que faz ele o melhor treinador do mundo, que ele focaliza primeiro no treinamento. Porque não interessa que suplemento ou como que você tá comendo. Se você não treinar adequadamente, você não vai crescer. Segundo, a sua comida, alimentação. E terceiro, na suplementação. E ele realmente trabalha em todos esses aspectos. So, Hany, like, from every person that you train, from man and woman, who was the hardest for you to train? I mean, just that was right there. Who was like the most difficult person for you to train? Not in a bad way, but it was difficult because a lot of the times being a great trainer is being a great psychologist too. They got to work with people psychologically. And I even joke all the time, you and I, how you all the time used to, like, in a negative, positive way, push me to be better. So who was the most challenging person that you had? Don't say me. Don't say me, Hany.
I won't say his name, but they call him the Razor.
Oh, come on. Stop it.
Hey, let's talk about you for a second, Tamer. I think there's some good stories. There's some good stories that I'll save for, one of these days we'll do together. We'll tell some really good stories about how you fell asleep on the beach when we were getting ready for a show.
No.
It was horrible. And
so
you fell asleep. And you got the sunburn.
That was hard for you to train?
Honestly, I think probably one of the most stressful years was 2009, because I had Phil Heath and Jay Cutler, and the whole year was difficult because of the fact that there was so much pressure on Jay because he had just lost, and then he hired me to work together. And then even going into the prep, I didn't know if I was going to even prep him or not, because it was one of those things where he came from Chris, who had a completely different style than I did, right? And so I'm very pragmatic, and I'm very, very like, this is what you have to do. This is what's going on. And Chris is kind of more, as Jay would put it, he gives a lot more leverage to the client and gives a lot more range.
You're very specific.
Yes, I'm very, very specific, and making sure that, hey, the check-in pictures have to be done a certain way. How often they come in, the food, the meals have to be within a certain amount of time of the day. You know, when you get up in the mornings, this has to happen. These are, you know, how many hours between meals. It's very, very, I'm very, very pragmatic when it comes to my program. So that was probably one of the most difficult, because there's so much pressure, because he had so much attention going into that show, because he had just lost and everybody was trying to wonder, what's he going to look like? And that was probably one of the most intense times because of the pressure.
Então, eu perguntei para o Hany quais foram os atletas, os anos mais complicados para o Hany. E ele fala que em 2009 foi o ano mais difícil para ele, porque ele estava treinando o Phil Heath e o Jay Cutler, e era o primeiro ano treinando o Jay Cutler. Ele estava treinando com o Chris Aceto, e o Chris Aceto tem uma maneira um pouco mais flexível. O Hany é muito pragmático, muito específico, o jeito que ele faz as coisas. Então, realmente foi um ano muito difícil e complicado para ele. Hany, so what is the future for Hany Rambod? I remember, like, you know, you used to train a lot more people.
Yeah.
Now you're training less people. And
Yes.
of course, you're a lot more focused on your company that's doing phenomenally well. But I always tell you, you cannot let the procreator die. The procreator must live. So
No.
tell us about what's the future, where are you training, what's going on there?
You know, honestly, right now I've been focusing on expanding Evogen, bringing in more athletes, expanding into more countries. We just launched into 5 more countries this last month. And I'm really focusing on that right now. And I'm still working with a handful of clients, but I was always exclusive, as you know. I'm very exclusive. You can ask Eduardo about that. And I really need to be able to get along with somebody and really feel comfortable with them to be able to work with them. I mean, I've had clients where I've worked with them in the past, they've won, and then I just decided, you know what, it was too much or it wasn't the right fit, even though they won. And in situations like that. So for me, I'm still working with a handful of clients. I'm still working with some people that are, you know, that I work with behind the scenes that I don't talk about, you know, and there's some things that I do that I really enjoy doing. And I don't like the formula of trying to be everything for everybody. It's not my formula.
You never train many people. Never. No. I remember even from the past, you're training much less people right now.
Yes.
But you're always like a trainer that was very limited. And I remember even when I was training with you, a couple times I had like friends of mine that say, well, I want to train with Hany. And I say, look, Hany doesn't train with a lot of people. He's very specific. And, you know, and I'm going to say it right there. Like a lot of people even come to me, well, does Hany only train with you if you are the best? And that's not true. I don't think that's a good critic. So why don't you talk about that? Because some people say that, well, Hany only gets the guys that are the best.
Yeah,
well,
they don't really,
criticism.
No.
What do you say to that?
Yeah, you know, I have to pick and choose because I'm very limited with what I work on. But in the past, I would bring up people just like yourself that was 10th at the USA and bring them in and to win the USA or then get to the Olympia stage. Seth Feroce, you know, we did Pittsburgh together. He looked like a bag of shit. And then the next day, we dried him out. He won that. The next show, he got his pro card. And you remember that. You did the same show against him.
Sure, yeah.
And you even said, what the fuck was this guy? Why, you know, like this was unbelievable, right? But
he came from nowhere.
And he came from nowhere. But people only see the bigger names because those are the ones that people talk about in the magazines at the time or on the internet.
Bom, eu tô falando pro Hany, o Hany sempre foi muito específico de não treinar muita gente, porque o estilo de treino dele é realmente, ele se devota muito ao atleta. E algumas pessoas criticam, falam, Hany, você só escolhe os melhores para treinar. Isso é verdade? O Hany fala, não é verdade. Eu posso falar, quando o Hany começou a treinar comigo, eu estava em 10º lugar nos amadores e ele me tornou pro, ele tornou o Seth Feroz pro, que também... E, na verdade, o apelido dele é The Pro Creator, porque ele trazia as pessoas do amador para o profissional. I was just saying here, you didn't say that, but on my translation in Portugal, I was talking about this. Like, really, you got your reputation, not turning pros. Your nickname is the Pro Creator because you got famous getting amateurs into pros. What you know is one of the hardest things to do. That's
but
what your nickname was.
But when I still had a limited number of clients, what I did was I was focusing on less pros and more O's, and that's why it gravitated to Olympias, because they got paid more. I could still work less, get paid more, and be able to work with the same number of athletes and be able to make more money.
Look,
and that was just it was basic economics.
The greatest basketball coach of all times, Phil Jackson, okay? He won 11 championships. He first was with Michael Jordan, then he was with Kobe and Shaq, you know, and nobody's saying he was picking and choosing. He was the greatest coach of all time because, of course, it's a combination of having a genius person training you and great quality athletes. You must have both of those to have success.
Yeah, you need people that are coachable and that want to be coached. So if you really look at it, I really pick and choose by who I think is coachable, who's going to be able to listen long term. Because I'm not trying to do this for one show. Even if they win, I may say, hey, I don't want to work with you anymore because I got a bad vibe of how this was going to go on down the road. It's no different than a photographer. And they get along with certain people, and you can tell the images are great because they're working really, really well together. You know, you don't find good food from a chef who doesn't like to cook, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. So if you want to translate that.
Eu tô comentando sobre um aspecto que o Hany, algumas pessoas falam, o Hany só treina os melhores caras. Mas é uma combinação. O maior treinador de basquete de todos os tempos, o Phil Jackson, treinou o Michael Jordan, treinou o Shaquille O'Neal e o Kobe. É uma combinação de você tendo um treinador, o melhor treinador do mundo e tendo, lógico, uma qualidade. E ele sempre, desde o começo, decidiu ter menos atletas para poder focalizar o máximo possível nos atletas. Ele, na teoria dele, não acredita em treinar muitas pessoas, então ele sempre fez mais qualidade. So, Hany, like, let's talk about what do you think is happening with, like, the divisions? Like, you train, of course, not only bodybuilders, but you train people in the figure division. You work with Nicole Wilkins, and she won. You train, men's physique athletes. So let's talk a little bit about the men's physique category. Like, how do you see that division going? What do you think is the evolution of that division? Looks like I lost Hany for a second here. Could you hear me?
Yeah,
Hany?
I lost you for a second. Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Yeah, so I'm saying that not only you train bodybuilders, you have trained some of the best men's physique in the world and figure. So let's talk about men's physique. How do you see the evolution and the change on the category of men's physique? What do you see there?
Obviously, men's physique has grown, right? So the men's physique division the guys are getting bigger, okay? And it's evolving. It's bodybuilding. So what it was during the first men's physique Olympia with Mark Anthony versus how it's evolved through the last, 7-8 years, it's changed quite a bit. So those guys are getting more muscular, and same with the other divisions. So you have the unlimited division, which is the open class. That's just continuing to evolve. But at the end of the day, the classic physique is really starting to evolve because as they're raising the weight limits, they're starting to evolve. Some of them are going back and forth between men's 212 going to classic, or from classic to 212 now. So you're starting to see a little bit more of a crossover effect. As the divisions start to grow, there's going to be a little bit more of that gray area. But overall, I think it's an amazing time because now you don't have a one-size-fits-all situation. When we used to go into the 90s into the USA, there was one pro card. There was only bodybuilding for men, only bodybuilding for women, and then that was it. Now you have so many different divisions. You have wellness, you have figure, you have physique, you have men's physique, you have classic physique, you have men's open bodybuilding. So now you don't have a one size fits all situation. So I think it's a great time. It's a very exciting time. So that's why instead of having 80 people in a show, you as a promoter, as probably the largest promoter in the world now, is that an accurate statement?
We have 47 shows. We're like Muscle Contest, the largest promotion in the world.
There you
30
go.
on the US and about 20 outside of the US.
Well, a lot of that is because since the NPC has added in so many divisions, it's allowed us to be able to create clients and have more clientele within a multiple amount of people in much different demographics. You have masters, which now you have a master's show too, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you have all the way down into teens and Gary Udit's show. You have everything that comes in the bigger shows that are the more classic bodybuilding, like the USA's, which is, you know, one of the, if not the most prestigious NPC show, that and the Nationals. And what you do is you start to look at it and you say, okay, great. It could be your first show and step in the stage, and then you can evolve and still stay within the same association and still be able to get on the Olympia stage in multiple different types of divisions.
So, eu tô falando com o Hany pouco do Men's Physique. Lógico que ele treinou a Nicole Wilkins da Figure, treinou gente no Men's Physique que se tornaram Mr. Olympia. Então ele está falando que existiu uma evolução natural, que os atletas ficaram um pouco maiores no Men's Physique, mas ele acha que isso é uma coisa boa para o esporte, uma coisa que não uma coisa mal, uma coisa boa. A mesma coisa no Classic Physique, ele acha que tem uma oportunidade muito grande dessa divisão de se desenvolver muito, muito mais. E ele também está muito animado com a inclusão agora da wellness, da categoria de wellness. Well, Hany, let's go back, of course, because it's one of the things, you have a lot of Iranian, followers and friends, and everybody wants to know about the people champion, and Hany really rocked the house, with his presentation. Can he do even better? Can he realistically do better? Of course, you as a coach, you're going to say yes, but his frame is limited because of his height, and the guy looked pretty darn amazing. Can you surprise us one more time?
Never underestimate the Persian Wolf. He's a guy who loves the challenge. He comes from a country that's very, very restricted in regards to many, many things. And you have a person who is literally hungry. He's hungry for success. And he did win the People's Champion Award. He's the Olympia Men's People's Champ Award. Recipient. So at the end of the day, Hady Choopan should never be underestimated, because they said the same thing about Phil Heath's frame. They said, oh, he's narrow, he's this, he's that, he doesn't have a back, his chest is lagging.
Well, actually, Hady is broader. He has a really broad physique.
Okay,
He's
there
just
you go.
not tall, but he's really broad.
Right. And him and Flex are very, so let me ask you this. Do you think Flex Lewis can win the Olympia?
I think he can, yes.
Okay,
and I think Hady can win too.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, because their frames are very similar.
Could win. Look, you had a discussion last year. Thanks God I was only producing the show. I wasn't judging. But when people ask me before the show, and I'm not lying here because I have that on interview, he said, who do you think is going to be on the top 5? I didn't say top 3. And I put Hady there, and people are shocked. They say, Hady Choopan is going to make the top 5. I said, look, one thing I know about Hany, that this guy is going to be shredded to the bones. And right now, that already puts him on a condition of, fighting for it. So I do
Yeah.
think he has a chance,
Yeah, and if you look at Steve Weinberger or anybody's criticism, they said he could always be a little bit bigger. He could always be a little bit bigger. And it's one of those things that's what he's working on. He's working on his thickness. He's working on training harder, training heavier, adding in more volume, FST7 type of techniques to be able to get rounder, because his conditioning was on point. His balance between his upper body and his lower body is on point. So, and again, when you look at people and you say strengths and weaknesses of the other guys, that's when you turn around and go, okay, Brandon Curry could be a little bit bigger through the legs. He could have been a little bit sharper. There's some things, but he's got some beautiful lines. But, judges had him in first. William Bonnick had a combination. He's got roundness. He's got the closest thing, I think, to Phil in terms of the three-dimensionality of his physique. So let's really break this down. And again, I don't sit here very often. I don't do very many interviews, but obviously you and I are very close. So I will sit down and do this interview and say, let's really break down these physiques, and let's go from top to bottom, front to back. And let's see who has clean muscle bellies. Where are the fibers? Where are the differences and the nuances in the physique, not only symmetrically, but in regards to overall separation, conditioning, and dryness? Because I think there needs to be a little bit more discussion in what to look for when it comes to a physique. And I think that's where some people, they just become a little bit more fan-oriented, but they're not really looking at things pragmatically.
Well, I mean, first let me translate that. So, nós estamos conversando agora sobre o Hany Chopin, lógico, e o Hany falou, nunca tire o Hany Chopin como poderia ganhar o Olímpia. Ele realmente tem a chance de ganhar o Olímpia. Ele acredita nisso, que o Hany tem chance, e que ele está num país que as coisas são muito complicadas, muito difíceis, e o Hany Chopin está treinando mais duro do que qualquer pessoa. Então, ele acredita que o lobo do Irã tem uma chance. The wolf of Iran has a chance of winning. So, well, I can tell you this, and I'm not talking here as a judge. I'm talking here strictly as a fan. I thought that Hany's condition was, probably the best out there on the Olympia. His condition was absolutely outstanding. But of course, this, Brandon has such a pretty physique. So right. Is that, I wasn't judging, so I had a little bit more freedom to say, I really was looking both of those two guys, because I thought that William Bonnack wasn't on his best shape. And that's like my opinion, not an opinion. I wasn't judging, so I wasn't sitting on the judging panel. But from outside, I really thought those guys were really impressing me the most. Now, it becomes a little bit more, what is your preference? I always say condition, mass, and symmetry. So those are the three pillars of bodybuilding, and you got to give Brandon, I think, the symmetry and balancing because of how pretty his physique is. Then you go for mass and condition, and then you can make arguments on both sides. What is your take on that?
Well, first of all, I hate to interrupt you, but we got the amazing John Lindsay, who just popped in, and he's just to say hello to us, who has been my mentor and your mentor for a very long time.
Sure, yeah, it's awesome. The captain is in the house. The
captain is on deck. The captain is on deck. Attention.
We cannot say anything wrong now, for sure.
No, absolutely.
He's gonna be giving us a call. Like, you messed that up. You should have said that.
John would never do that. John never raises his voice or yells about anything. But all honesty, it's great to have John around. I miss the hell out of him. But the bottom line is, when you look at this whole thing, when we call bodybuilding, you're going to gravitate a little bit more to what you personally are connected with.
Sure.
So Tamer's the razor. You didn't have the biggest arms. You didn't have the biggest back, but you were very complete, and you were dry as sand, right? And we got you full and dry to to the point where when you hit even your transition shots, you had fibers and photographers were going crazy with your hands crossed, and in between your poses were now poses.
Sure.
Okay. And that's when you know you've really nailed it. And that's why I think you have a little bit more appreciation for kind of that conditioned look, because you know how much you have to suffer. And when I say suffer, it means you got to suffer, bro. And it's one of those things where I talk about this in my seminars, but I don't really talk about it too much online, but it's something that I definitely want to start getting into. You got to have the mental toughness to suffer, to look the way you did, the way Hany did, the way Phil's looked in the past, where you got to be able to take your body and your mind and separate the two, because you want to stop and you got to tell yourself, look, I'm going to listen to my coach. I'm going to go a little bit more, 10 more minutes of cardio when I don't want to. I want to be able to, you're eating that dry ass chicken and you're not cheating on those meals. And you're doing all of those things because you don't want to embarrass yourself or me. And that's a huge, huge aspect of mental toughness that a lot of people don't understand, because what they do is they become a little bitch and they don't want to end up being able to say, hey, look, my ankle hurts, or I'm tired, or it's just, they come up with some kind of excuse. You never did that. You were able to take that to another level, and whatever you lacked in genetics, or basically in your God-given talent that you lacked, you made up for in hard work. And now it's proven itself with everything else you're doing. And it just proves my point. It proves my point. So I don't know, it's a long translation, but you want to be able to explain this to the Brazilian people, that the coachability aspect of this is not, it's mental, not physical, and also how it transcends into everyday life and what's going on right now with you now promoting the Olympia.
So o Hany está falando que treinando as pessoas, realmente o aspecto mais complicado é o aspecto psicológico, que não basta só sofrer. O sofrimento que você precisa para ficar numa condição como eu fiquei quando eu tornei profissional, como o Hany Chopin ficou, como o Phil Heath ficou, é um sofrimento assim, realmente fora do normal. Então, ele realmente olha por atletas que conseguem resistir, passar por esse sofrimento, por essa dor que você tem que passar, não por um dia, por meses e meses e meses. E esse realmente, na opinião dele, é o aspecto mais importante de se tornar um grande campeão. So, of course, like we talking about, like, the mental aspect, like you're saying, it's like, I remember like days and days that like I was feeling like crying or on the treadmill. And that's why I think like having a great coach is, it's really, it's like having a psychologist that's like right there helping you. It's like, it hurts my heart to remember this because she's no longer with us. But I remember Jana one time telling me that she was on the phone with you for a whole hour while she was like running, because she couldn't do it anymore. And you're just talking to her, just kind of pushing her through the cardio while she was doing. What's kind of like unbelievable. Like, what kind of coach does that? And I think that's why you cannot have that many clients, because people don't understand what Hany is as a coach. You really immerse yourself physically and mentally on the training. I think like many, many times you used to get sick. You used to get so sick.
I used to get sick. Yeah, you remember.
People
yeah.
Because you're exhausted. So let me translate that, because I really want to say this, because I think that's... So uma coisa que eu tô falando, que o Hany realmente dava tanta emoção, tanto para a pessoa que ele estava treinando. Eu lembro uma vez que ele estava treinando uma menina de figure e ele ficou 1 hora no telefone falando com ela sem parar, porque ela não podia parar de fazer aquele cardio, ela não aguentava mais. E o Hany realmente põe tanto esforço nas pessoas que ele fica doente depois. Geralmente ele ficava doente toda vez que ele treinava alguém, porque tão estressado e tanto esforço que ele faz. So, Hany, I think that's one of the things that you told me why you're not training that many people, because realmente of the psychological, effort that really takes to be one of the greatest coaches. So now next Olympia, you have who you're training for the next Olympia.
So right now we have obviously Hady Chopin. We're still in the middle of all the visa situation. It's again has to all reset, but God willing, that takes care of it. That gets taken care of. So it'll be Hady Chopin. We got Andre Adu. So Andre, who did his pro debut last year in Romania, is now qualified. So he is going to be doing the men's physique class. And then obviously if somebody who's possibly, if there's anybody else that decides to do the Olympia that's already qualified.
I was gonna say
then there might be that.
This is gonna become the #1 live because we're clearing the air with Eduardo Correa and basically saying everything that he said is absolutely not true. And then now we're just gonna announce few heat. If you're watching this, the promoter of the Olympia and your trainer is telling you are gonna do the Olympia.
Oh, now you're throwing me into it. Oh, yeah. But actually, we say hi to Flex Wheeler, man, the legend Flex Wheeler, the Sultan of Symmetry. He just jumped on too. Say hello to Flex. Yeah, yeah.
Here he is.
He is. That's it.
Every seminar that I have, I put that picture of Flex in black and white, and I say this is the #1 picture of all times. All times. And I really believe that Flex really has that picture that he's looking down. It's the most magnificent picture ever taken on bodybuilding,
Yeah, and obviously Flex has gone through a hard time with the amputation of his lower leg, and we definitely need to catch up, Flex. So I will be giving you a call. So I know we've been playing some telephone tag, but I'm wishing him all the best because the guy is tough as nails, man. He's also been one of those guys very similar to Ronnie Coleman who has just been staying super positive, and I'm very proud of you, brother. He's an icon. He's a living legend.
Yeah, he's honestly, it's so inspirational. His attitude. He came to the Arnold, and we know how much of a man it is. Not when you're in the top of the top, but when you're suffering. And he just motivates so many people. It almost makes me want to cry. He went over there and he inspired so many people. He was a gentleman and he was positive all the time. Positive. It's like he's a real man, a real champion, and somebody that all of us need to look over for it. So
yeah, and I think it's just you're just going to keep seeing Flex evolve. The next generation of what he's becoming. You're just going to see him, I think, do more. We're going to see more of him, I believe, and I think that he's just one of those people that is going to rise to the occasion. I really do.
Absolutely. So, Hany, look, this has been an amazing time with you. I love you to death. I regret that you ever got upset. I hate seeing you upset with anything. But one thing I want to say, from the very beginning that I started in bodybuilding, Hany has always been a brother to me. He's always been on my side and helping me out. And he's the greatest coach that ever lived for one single reason. He cares more than anybody I have ever seen. He cares about his athletes, sometimes more than they care about themselves. And maybe that's his biggest downfall. He's killing himself with them.
That's put in very well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Here. It's an honor, and I hope to see you again, you, Cameron, and Fairness soon.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Ciao, ciao. Tamer, Hany Rambod. See you guys on the next time.
Take care, Brazil. Take care, everybody.